afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Georgina Fleming, and I'm one of the Education and Media Technicians here at CaseWare. Today, I'm joined by Yanni Conradi, the Product Owner for Accounts Advanced IFRS. And during today's webinar, we're going to be taking a look at what's new in CaseWare Working Papers 2020. So before I hand over to Yanni, there are some housekeeping items we will run through. So if you do have any questions at all, then please do pop those into the questions field on the GoToWebinar panel rather than using the hand raising feature. We have a lot of you in attendance today, so the hand raising feature isn't going to be sort of viable to be watched. So pop your questions into the panel field for me. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, and we will try and incorporate as many of your questions into that session as we can. Also on the GoToWebinar panel, you will see there is a handout section. Now, what we've created is a PDF document with helpful guidance and links to knowledge base articles on there, which you will find useful. So do take a copy of that throughout the webinar, and that is within the handout section. We do also have a couple of polls that will be launched on your screen, one of which I'm going to do shortly. It's just to gauge from you guys a couple of things. So if I just launch the first one, we just want to know who has already installed CaseWare Working Papers 2020. We're not going to hold you to it, don't worry. It's just out of curiosity. The support for CaseWare Working Papers 2019 doesn't cease just yet, but if you can answer that, please, and I'll give you a few moments. Okay, I can see you're still voting, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close that off and share those results on the screen. So we're pretty much at sort of an even split there. So perfect, thank you for answering that for us. So I'm going to hide that off of your screen. And also just to make you aware that today's webinar is going to be recorded and will be made available on the knowledge base as well. And depending on how many questions we receive, we may also publish a Q&A document. So without further ado, I shall hand you over to Yanni.
Thanks, Georgie. Good morning, good afternoon, and looking at the attendee list, in fact, good evening, depending on where you are in this global pandemic. Welcome to the 22 edition of Working Papers. So let's have a look what is going to be on the agenda for today. So I'm going to briefly talk to you about installing the new software. We're going to have a look at new features, and then we're going to talk about future updates and the support for Working Papers 2019. Okay, so let's have a look at installing the software. Now, I am not going to spend as much time on this as we did in previous years because this is for intermediate users aimed at, but it's just a brief overview of things. So the new Working Papers 2020 is version 2020.00.247. Now, in fact, this is update 1, but because we didn't release the first update or the first Working Papers 20, this is our official release we are supporting. We've also released the template. With this is TO135, the template pack. So I'll talk about that. Let's have a quick look at, the timescale of when we released what happened before, what happened after, and what you need to be aware of or take into consideration before installing the software. So at the end of November, we released Working Papers 20 with the template bundle of TO135. Now, at the end of October, we released the Charity and Academy ePack of 40407. Beginning of November, we did release the Accounts ePack 4405, and then your Corporation Tax ePack 31204. Now, when we release a template bundle like TO135 with each Working Papers release, that includes all the ePacks before this. Okay, so let's have a quick look at EPACs coming up. So we've released the first EPAC for the year, the accounts EPAC 4501. Corporation tax EPAC we're going to release next week, which is 31301, and then your charities and academies EPAC. But do take note in the difference of the sequence in the numbers. Whenever we release a new working papers, we change the number. Okay, so what that means is EP 4501, we start new, so new bugs. But before you can install EP 4501, you need to be up to date with all the EPACs. So EP 4501 does not contain all the bug fixes, all the compliance disclosures that we've included and incorporated that we did, as in 4405. So if you're going to install 4501 without installing 4405, you're going to miss some stuff. So please make sure that you are up to date, and that's not just for the accounts EPAC, that is for any EPAC. So please make sure in your engagement file that you are up to date, or if you are not up to date, or you're not sure, or you don't want to take any chances, that is when you can install the template bundles 0135. So that contains everything. Install this one, and then you can just continue for the rest of the year with all the new EPACs coming out. So I hope that is clear. But if you have any questions, you can call our excellent support team, and they will guide you and help you where they can. Okay, so installing actual working papers. What we've added this year is the view release documentations. So we've taken it out of just as a PDF, and we've now created a knowledge base article. So if you just click on that, that will take you directly to the knowledge base. And then this contains all your working papers installation guides. So please take note of that article number. And because it's now up as a KB article, the link won't expire, the link won't change, and we will always just keep this article up to date with the latest guidance and notes. Also included within Article 4209 is our evaluation guides and also getting started user guides. Now I want to point you to the CaseWare Working Papers interactive guide. So our excellent EMT team has combined and created this interactive guide. So this is very good for people that only use CaseWare once a year or install CaseWare once a year, and even new users. So get them up on the knowledge base, let them run registered, let them run through this interactive guide. It is quite nice to work through, and do make sure that you have, like in the picture, your cup of coffee ready, because you won't want to leave that. So let's just have a quick look at what is installed with this interactive guide. So there's an intro section where it covers some initial questions. What is CaseWare? Do you need CaseWare? Why do you need CaseWare? Your licensing options. With the setting up CaseWare, it covers the installation of the application, amending permissions, installing templates, and it's not just text. They've got interactive videos as well that actually shows you the whole process with that. We cover the data store. So what is a data store? Do you actually need it? If you do need it, how do you create it? Then there's the working papers overview. So all of the buttons and things, what does this button do? What does that button do? If you hover over it and click, for what, like I've done here in a screenshot, it just tells you, this is what you do here. So it's very interactive. Please have a look at that. And also, to make it fun, we've included a quiz at the end of it. Now, if you do get 100% the first time, not the second go, your first time, that will give you some extra CPD points. Okay, so software installation. So only install working papers if you are up to date with the latest EPACs, and also if you are on Working Papers 2019. Only install the templates that you've got licenses for, and the passwords will be included within your release emails. Now, it's not all users that will get those release emails. It is normally your AP contact that we've identified, or your IT person. If you want to know what licenses you've got or templates you have licenses for, that will be in the release email. If you find that you need additional licenses or you need additional templates, just contact your account manager. Okay, so once you've installed Working Papers 20, it is going to convert your previous file, so there's no change there, depending on what your company policy is. So we always say, just take a backup. Oh, file conversion, now that appears. Okay, so I'm going to open myself up for shots here, but another time for a survey, and this is now about the speed for Working Papers. So Georgie, can you run the second survey, please?
Perfect. Yep, I'm going to launch that on your screens now. So are you happy with the speed of CaseWare Working Papers? So yes or no. Give you a few moments to answer that. Responses are coming in thick and fast. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'm just going to close that off and I'm just going to share those results on screen. So we've got 35% of you saying yes, you're happy with the speed, and we've got 65% of you saying that you're unhappy. So I'm going to hide that and I'm going to hand back to yourself, Jan.
Excellent. Okay, thanks, Georgie. Well, looking at those numbers, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news for you guys. Okay, so let's start with the bad news. The bad news is you're not going to get any extra CPD points for getting 100% on for the first time on that interactive guide, but it's still worth doing it. The good news is that CWI has released a speed enhancement for Working Papers 2020. So a little bit more about that later. But before I tell you what you need to do to take advantage of the speed enhancement, you're going to have to stay till the end of this webinar. Okay, so let's have a little look now at the new features for Working Papers and what they've done. Integration with Analytics AI. So Analytics AI is something new that we've launched, but you can now create your Analytics AI files directly from Working Papers. You can upload your trial balance data from there and also incorporate reports based on specific tests back into Working Papers. So I'm just going to show you where that is in the file. So if I just bring my file over here, so I'm in an engagement here. If we click on cloud, you can see that here is your Analytics AI area that will pop up. So I've already associated a Analytics AI file within my engagement. Just click on it and then it will be linked. So for our clients, so you can upload your trial balance from there, and you can also unlink it here. So do keep your eye out for that. Integration with multiple cloud sites. So last year we've launched our queries feature, and you can collaborate directly with your clients from Working Papers. We have identified then that you are going to need multiple cloud sites within your engagement. So you can now save out details of multiple cloud sites and then easily switch between them. But just take note that for security purposes, that when you do switch between sites, your login credentials will be cleared out. Okay, just to show you that. So if I go to Tools and Options, and we go to CaseWare Cloud, you can now see that previously we just had the one, you can now have multiple cloud sites. When you are in an engagement, you can't switch between sites. So just to demonstrate how you can do that, I'm going to go out my file. Let's just open up CaseWare, and with here options, CaseWare Cloud, I can now see we can just switch between, and this is also where you can add more sites. Okay. Okay, so single sourcing engagement properties with the cloud. So with our cloud integrated files, we now have a single source engagement property. So what it means is that if you're linking your engagement with a cloud entity, that will automatically populate the engagement properties for you. So let's have a look at that. So what it is saying is that your engagement properties will automatically be filled in linking this with a cloud entity. So this is the existing file. I'm going to close that. Let's create a new file and demonstrate it for you. So we're going to create this. I'm going to call this my new file, just final 3212, and we're going to make it accounts advanced. Oh, look at that. That file already exists. So let's just add something else in there. Okay, so the areas fields that it's going to fill in automatically for you is the name, address field, and the contacts. So I'm just going to add in my year and date. And click OK. So let's just go back. Show there's no smoking daggers here, and that is not filled in. Okay, so I'm now going to associate my engagement with a cloud entity. So go to the cloud, publish, and this is now your server. So this is server that we've identified, off that list. So if you're wrong server, you know now to go out, change it, go back in, and this is my entity. I can also see that your queries and your analytics AI is grayed out because this is a new file. Okay, so I'm just going to choose our UK extend and a new file. And you can see queries is open now. Analytics is grayed out, so I'll demonstrate creating that. But let's go to engagement properties, engagement, and there we go. You can see that's filled in for you. So that's just going to make sure that all the information is consistent and just coming from one source. If I look at the contacts, that is filled in as well and grayed out because that is being controlled from the cloud entity. So if I now go back to the cloud and enter my contact to, those details will filter through. Okay, so just to show you how to create the analytics AI, so I'm going to open up and select our UK Analytics AI product. And you can now see I am now ready to upload and afterwards unlink it as well. And lockdown. Okay, so I wonder in what tier this engagement is going to go if I press that button, but I'm just going to leave it there. Save. And yep, okay, so let's go out of this new engagement and just open up my other file. Okay, so we've covered now single source. Okay, so let's have a look of what they've done. CWI have done with some low-hanging fruit items here. We had the need or the request to have bulk property changes to automatic documents. So in other words, so if the properties of a lead sheet, grouping, tags, and reconciliation and trial balance lead sheets are the same, like in the same type and format, then that can be modified simultaneously. So in other words, let's demonstrate that. What it is saying is that if, let's take tangible fixed assets here. If the properties of a lead sheet type and format is the same, So in this particular one, we've got grouping and then group hierarchy summary. I'm just going to look at the properties for this one. Also group hierarchy summary. Lead sheets, that is going to be different. No, group hierarchy summary. So they are all the same. So what it is saying, we can now bulk property change this. So if I select all of them together, right click, properties, you can now see with Working Papers 20 that is being grayed out. So previously you could select all of the lead sheets together as well. And instead of Johnny Jr. ticking all the boxes one by one, I don't want to maintain these 4 lead sheets when I do a lockdown, and I don't want to retain it on cleanup. You can just click it twice, and you can now see that we have bulk changes. Okay, so I'm sure that's going to be useful for other properties and changes that you might want to incorporate and do. Okay, more on documents is that we've now added a delivered date property to automatic documents that can track the dates when documents has been sent. Also, we've added a delivered date column to the document manager. We've also created a placeholder ribbon option to add for a place to, act as a placeholder for documents. So let's quickly just have a look at what I mean with that. Okay, so previously we did have the deliverable and the due date in documents, but what we've added now is the delivered date of documents. So you can now show when it has been sent. Okay, so in fact, I've sent all of these documents together. So we can now do it in bulk. And the other one is that we've added a column for delivered dates. We've also, you can always, when you roll forward, you can roll forward a placeholder, but we've added in a placeholder ribbon for you. So if you are waiting for certain documents, you can create a placeholder. So I'm just going to create a placeholder for my connector here. And talking about connector, if we do have time at the end, I might just take a helicopter view on connector just to show you some of the hidden gems of working papers that clients do forget. But I don't want to sound like a salesperson here. But that's only if we've got some time. So I'm going to just drag and drop my connector file in here. We're going to replace it. So while you're waiting for a file, you can now annotate it. You can link it to other documents. And let's just take a quick look at that. As you can see there, let's enable editing. Let it work through. And there we go. My connector file has been updated with this information. All right, let's see what else they have given us. Okay, imports. So every year we added some more imports. So they've added Sage 50 for 20 accounts 2020, even though we had a hotfix for that earlier last year. They've improved performance when importing ASCII and XML files. Also, the overall import time has been reduced. New features, issues. Okay, so with issues, issues with multiple issue types now list each type in the issues pane rather than just the word multiple. Issues with multiple issue types will only roll forward or be retained on cleanup if all other issues, assigned issues type, share the same setting. So if one of the multiple types is set up to be cleared, that setting will take preference when performing a year-end close or a cleanup routine. Okay, let's just demonstrate that quickly. So what they are saying is with issues, I'm just going to create a new issue. So when you have multiple issue types, let's just select those 4. In your issue pane here, instead of just having multiple word here with 2020, you will now see each issue type. And that second point was, if one of them has been set up not to clear out, that will take preference when doing a year-end close procedure or roll forward, and it will clear it all out there for you. Okay, with case view, merge pages now retain the print preview. So last year we've introduced that you can have a merge page print preview, and then when you go out of the print preview, it went back to normal. Now it will maintain your print preview for you. If you do want to unmerge the pages, then simply just right click and then remove this merged group. Okay, so just quick, extra adjusting journal types. So some of us weren't even aware that we've got that. But I don't know if you guys are using extra adjusting journal types, but now the extra adjusting journal types can be included within your adjustment column of your lead schedules. Let's have a look at that quickly. So what they are saying here is, I have an adjusting journal here already, just to show you it's a normal adjusting journal, but we do have the extra adjusting journal types. So I've just other adjusting journal 2, other adjusting journal 3. Now this was in working papers already, so this is not what's new, but just to give you explanation of it. So I'm now selecting my other adjusting 2 journal type. So this is fixed assets. So if I do go to fixed assets here, it's not included in my adjusting journals there. So previously what you had to do was modify the properties of this lead schedule, tick the box, include other adjusting 2 or 3, I've just got 2, and then it will show up like this. You've got the extra column. But what they've now introduced with Working Papers 20 is you can incorporate your other adjustings within your adjusting column here. So that is what I'm going to show now. So let's just go back to properties, untick that. So with your balances here, you will see we've got this option here. So I'm just going to make it user defined. And then within the settings, include adjusting journal 2 or 3 as well. So now if I open up my lead schedule, you can now see that it is incorporated with your normal adjusting journals there. Okay, fixes. Let's just quickly run through some of the fixes that they've done here. And I've picked out the best one for you guys just in time for lockdown 3. Look at that. Fix various scaling issues when viewing case view on a 4K display. So if all of you are working from home on your 65-inch 4K telly, there we go. Fix an issue where disabling allow creation of multiple synchronized copies in a working papers file would not prevent the users from creating multiple sync copies. Okay, in other words, what they are saying now is it is now doing what it's supposed to do. Fixed an issue where using select all in the internal recycle bin would cause working papers to stop responding. They fixed an issue that prevented the freeze function from freezing columns headers in certain automatic document types. Fixed an issue where recently accessed files would not display under the recent tab of copy components wizard. Right, okay, so that was just there's a few other ad hoc fixes as well. Now, support for Working Papers 2019. So we will stop support Working Papers 2019 on the 31st of May 2021. So we do urge clients to upgrade as early as possible. Just a heads up that if you are going to install our Order 22 templates, then the minimum version for that is Working Papers 20. Right, so this is probably what you guys have been waiting for, is the case view recalculation speed. Okay, so CWI have changed the way the salary calculations are behaving. So Working Papers has been released with this disabled because this is still in a testing phase. Benchmark testing from ourselves is indicating that you can speed up this increase up to 30%. We've also enabled this for a few clients already with great success, and so it's all things good. With the success of this, I'm pretty sure that this will be rolled out with Working Papers 2021. But you can make use of it now if you have installed Working Papers 20. So if you do, it's just a setting that you need to do in your CVVer file. So if you do want to take advantage of this, get in contact with our support line. And what is the time here? Well, it's already past. I'm going to hand you back over to Georgie now, just to see if there's any questions that came in.
Perfect, thank you. So we have had quite a few questions in actually, but most have been answered sort of outside of the webinar. We will look to include all of the questions onto the Q&A document along with the recording, so you can review those. Just one I wanted to pick up on though, we've had a question from Neve to say, if you're on Working Papers 2019 and have installed EP40501, do you have to reinstall the EPAC after upgrading to 2020? So I don't know if you obviously had the diagram at the beginning to sort of talk through that.
If you have installed, no, because at this time we are still developing into Working Papers 19. So if you were up to date with your EPAC 405 and you've installed 40501, you can just install Working Papers 2020. That's fine.
Perfect. Okay, so we've had another question just come in from Mark here. When are you expecting to release the Audit 22 template? As we would normally update Working Papers at the same time.
So far, Mark, it's still in the end of March, so we are on track for that. End of March this year.
Okay, brilliant. All of the other questions got answered, so what I'll do is I'll put those onto the Q&A document and get those uploaded along with the recording. Perfect. Cheers, Jan. Right, okay then, so if we look ahead at our upcoming webinars then, we currently don't have any scheduled. We are in the process and the planning stages of getting some online though, so do keep an eye on our events page of our website to be able to register for those. Perfect. Okay, so just to point out again, you've got a last couple of minutes just to grab that handout off of the GoToWebinar panel if you haven't already, for useful links and guidance. But otherwise, that brings us to the end. So thank you very much for your time today. We do hope that you find this useful. We do have a survey which will come up on screen after the webinar. We would appreciate if you could take the time to fill that in. And also there is a questions field if you can think or if you have thought of any questions once the webinar has finished. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time today and enjoy the rest of your day.